Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Unwarranted Metal Opinions! Today we're going to be ranking Meshuggah albums. I've listened to all their discography, plus the Nun EP and the I EP, excluding the Psychisk Test Build and their B-sides records and stuff. And I'm going to be ranking their albums in chronological order. The way I did this was I listened through the record and I graded each song from 0 to 10. Then I added all the scores together and divided that sum by the number of songs on the record to get the score. So now I will start listing off the scores and we can take a look back at Meshuggah's amazing discography together and think about what went over really well and what was some of the weaker moments perhaps in their discography and why. Starting off with Contradictions Collapse. That was released in 1991. I feel like this album kind of blurs together writing-wise. I'm looking at my notes here. It feels a bit incoherent. The thrash influence is very strong, and you can hear that on the vocals especially. There's a lot of James Hetfield inspiration going on there. I'm not crazy about it, but I'm not super against it either. It was just what they were doing at the time, but I feel like the vocals sound a bit strained from time to time. I do have to say their songwriting is very creative for this time. Even though it's such an early record, it's kind of wild, and the songs are incredibly long. And they go on these interesting turns writing-wise, and I thought that was an interesting surprise because, believe it or not, I actually hadn't listened to much of Contradictions Collapse before in its entirety. I just heard a few songs here and there, and the song Greed I actually like quite a bit. Shameful. But they have some nice melodies and nice textures happening, and the clean parts and fusion parts are really interesting. But other than that, there's really not much that really draws me in with this record. It's kind of not my taste, really. I gave it a 6.5 out of 10. The lowest score on this list. Next up is the Nun EP. With 5 songs on it. I thought already from Contradictions Collapse to Nun there was a big improvement songwriting wise. I felt like they kind of grew into their sound a little bit more. Humiliative is an amazing song. I gave it a 9. I'll put up all the scores on the side here so you can look at the individual song scores as well. Also, the song Ritual has a very similar riff to Light the Shortening Fuse on Immutable. Yeah, just a solid EP. And Gods of Rapture is an insane song. Or wait, is it Aztec Two-Step? I think it's Aztec Two-Step. Anyway, the closing track is absolutely insane. It's just so noisy and crazy. Kind of a chore to listen to be honest, but interesting exploration anyhow. Also, strong lyrics. I like the lyrics on this EP. Moving on to Destroy, Erase, Improve. Oh, sorry, I didn't give you the score. I never calculated the score. What the fuck? I'm such an amateur. Makes sense. Excuse me. I give the Nun EP a 7.3 out of 10. Moving on to Destroy, Erase, Improve. (1995) starts off with Future Breed Machine, an incredibly strong track, as we all, I think, Meshuggah fans can agree on. I feel like it's Meshuggah's first true classic album. Soul Burn is a great track. Inside What's Within Behind has this really interesting riff, and within the breaks of the riff there's talking with Jens screaming on top, but it's so unsettling the way that's arranged. And the first time I heard it I was like, whoa, these guys were doing this really awesome stuff back in 95. This is a really outside the box metal. Acrid Placidity is a lovely clean track also. You have some really solid material on here. Mind-bending rhythms, and also this You have some slower moments, some heavier moments, and some very fast stuff, like Future Breed Machine, for example. It's just in your face, absolutely machine-like, manic, awesome. Meshuggah are really starting to show their strengths with this album. So Destroy, Erase, Improve got the score 7.7 out of 10, so just above the None EP. Up next is Chaosphere. From 1998. I was surprised by how much I enjoyed this album upon re-listening. New Millennium Cyanide Christ is a classic track. Corridor of Chameleons is a sick track, which I really like. Neurotica, awesome. The Mouth Licking What You've Bled is catchy as fuck. Amazing track. Sane is amazing. Like, really, really strong material. And the riffing is just some of the best in their whole discography, in my opinion. Amazing energy, just on fire, you know? Just unstoppable. Memorable songs. Great solos, too. Just alien-sounding solos from Frederick. Very wild-sounding album. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Chaosphere gets a 8.1 out of 10. Then we have Nothing. From 2002. Stenga is a cool track. Rational Gaze is a cool track. You have these Meshuggah staples, these classics on here. It felt like this album was a lot more rigid than Chaosphere, but it's also more gigantic sounding, heavier, slower. Some of the lyrics I found interesting as well. I'm seeing some like early concepts for Catch 33, I thought, with like paradoxes and stuff. Heavy and uncompromising album. Also, the song Spasm has a really... I love that riff. It's very heavy and groovy. Lots of cool grooves on this record as well, with like Perpetual Black Second and stuff. But I have to say, some of the songs felt a bit lacking to me. Like, maybe they were a bit just slow or mind-numbing. I guess you can tell from the list here which ones I didn't really dig that much. But overall, solid. Nothing gets a 7.2 from me. And that might upset some of you. Now we come to the I EP. Which is essentially just one long song, 22 minutes I think, or something like that. And also the song Pitch Black I included on here. I really love I think it sounds amazing, just absolutely wild and crushing, apocalyptic, dark. Some of the most apocalyptic sounds in their whole discography, in my opinion. And I think the production especially is the best out of all Meshuggah projects ever. I think I sounds absolutely fantastic, the remastered version especially. Also, Pitch Black is a really cool song. I love the vocal delivery on that. It's really cool. So because there's only 2 songs and I rated them very high, both of them, I gets the score 8.8. So out of the EPs in this list, it's definitely scored the highest. Then we have Catch 33. So this is Meshuggah's only concept album, at least the most coherent concept, and I really, really enjoyed listening to Catch 33 again. It's impeccably written, charged with emotion, and I feel like it's Meshuggah's deepest record that really takes me on a journey to an alien place, like none of their other projects really do. With Mind's Mirrors and In Death is Death, these kind of, and The Sum, I think, is an amazing closing track. Just the arrangements. It's hard to describe what I feel when listening to this record, but it's full of emotion. I feel like more than a lot of other Meshuggah projects are. It's communicating some kind of profound knowledge. I don't know. It feels like peering into something alien and just grand in a really nice way. And Some was also the only track I gave a 10 because I feel like it's just the ultimate song. I love the clean part also. Catch 33 gets an 8.5 from me. Then we move on to Obzen. Which came out in 2008. Starts off with Combustion, amazing opening track. Electric Red, amazing track. Blee, Lethargica, Obzen, Pravos, Dancers to Discordant System, all fabulous songs. This album is fiery from the start. I mean, Jens sounds amazing on here, like some of the best vocals that he's ever done. Songwriting is super solid and flows very well from start to finish. The riffs are just really, really good on this project. Obzen. That song just kind of encapsulates everything I love about this band, and it's amazing. Obzen gets an 8.4. Colossus. Now here is where some people might get a bit upset with me, but I actually don't dig Colossus all that much when you compare it to like Chaosphere, Obzen, Catch 33, that, you know, those ones, because I feel like the writing feels a bit unrefined or like bloated, and the production is also a bit overblown in my opinion. Like listening to it in one sitting especially is very like, I don't know, it just feels like there's some fat to be trimmed on this thing. But that said, there are some crushing riffs, and some of the heaviest songs that they've ever written appear on this thing. I just got mail that distracted me. I Am Colossus is an enjoyable track. Break Those Bones, Whose Sinews Gave It Motion, is a heavy as hell track. Don't Look Down, Demiurge, of course, is a classic song, and The Last Vigil is a very pleasant outro track as well. Generally, the songs on this album are enjoyable, but going off Meshuggah's standards, it's just not their best, in my humble opinion. Colossus gets a 7.7 from me. Next up, The Violent Sleep of Reason. Released in 2016, also the album that got me into Meshuggah back in the day. Clockworks is an awesome opening track. Born in Dissonance is one of their best tracks, in my opinion, even though it being so new. The title track is pretty cool. Stifled has, I think, the heaviest riff they've ever done. Like the intro riff is just so like viscerally filthy. I love it. Also the outro of Stifled is beautiful, like breathtakingly beautiful, which I really appreciate. I think the vocal production kind of sucks on this record. The live recording is cool, and I think the production is solid outside of that, but the vocals kind of sound like, I don't know, weak somehow, which is unfortunate because I feel like if the vocals were done in a different way, maybe a different microphone or processed in a different way, I feel like this record could have gotten the lift that it needed, because right now it feels like it's missing something. But they have some really awesome riffs on this project as well, and some very creative song structures. The Violent Sleep of Reason gets a 7.6. And then last but not least, we have Immutable. Which came out last year, 2022. Broken Cog is a cool opener. Ligature Marks is heavy. The other songs are solid, you know, The Abysmal Eyes, like a solid track, but I'm still kind of lukewarm on this album. There are some fresh ideas here and there, and I do like that they're playing with adding like vocal layers to like thicken it up a bit. I love the bass sound on this record as well. It's very crunchy and heavy and adds a lot to those riffs, especially the slow ones like in Ligature Marks. Overall, I felt like giving Immutable a 7.3. So let's rank all these albums. I'm surprised to see nothing so far down. But it makes sense to me. It's a record that I don't really return to that often, but I feel like straws pulled at random and like Rational Gaze, and those songs are very solid, but maybe otherwise it's a bit inconsistent. Maybe that's why it fell so low. The case is not that it's a bad album, it's just that Meshuggah has written so much quality stuff that I regard as being more quality than that, you know? Contradictions Collapse being at last place is not surprising to me, considering it was, you know, so early for them and very thrash influenced. It's interesting to me the timeline here, because that era from 2004, when they wrote I, until 2008 with Obzen is like my favorite. Then as you start to go into Colossus, the Violent Super Reason, I feel like the quality kind of tapers down. But Colossus scored pretty high. Violent Super Reason is like right behind. Immutable, also very like middle, very mid. I expected to see Obzen very high up on the list because that's the record that I just very much enjoy. Chaosphere was like a surprise to me that it ended up so high on the list, but welcome surprise. I really love Chaosphere now. Catch 33, as I stated, just awesome concept. So I'm happy to see it score very high. At least as far as EPs go, I is my favorite Meshuggah project. Towards the end here, I'd like to give out some like mini awards because I think that's a fun thing to do. Best album title, Nothing. I think Nothing is a cool title. Best album cover is Obzen. I think it's a classic album cover, instantly recognizable, awesome context, refreshing color palette, also with the sort of light, bright colors. Best lyrics, Catch 33, cool concept. Best title track, Obzen, because it's one of my favorite songs. Best opening track, Combustion, also goes to Obzen. Best closing track, Some, amazing track. And the best production, as I stated, is in my opinion the I EP. And that concludes, ladies and gentlemen, today's edition of Unwarranted Metal Opinions. Meshuggah is amazing. Go see them live if they're ever close to you.